Hello and welcome to the 89th.1 episode of the Gochuucast. So this is a guest episode, so it's a little awkward to do this here, but there was a little oopsie last week. This is different from the first oopsie we had. I hate that they both happen in such close proximity.
That is true.
Here I am, like 2 months 2 months ago, saying this will never happen again. It happens. Happens again on our longest ever episode too, Modern Tragedy. It was the Crunchyroll Anime Awards episode, so at some point I will probably solo cast that to make it up. However, it will not be quite as long as like a typical episode probably, because I don't think I can make it to an hour on my own. Well, maybe I can. But yeah, anyway, for right now, that's the situation. Rest in peace to a second episode. Deepening the Gochuucast lore. We only lose good episodes, so we should just have horrible episodes, and we'll never.
It is true that we have only lost bangers.
Yeah, but today like I said, we have a guest. Yay! Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Hayden. I make shoujo magical girl anime videos.
Hell yeah! Let's go.
Anyone who's seen episode 87? We're magical girl experts. We've all seen one magical girl anime.
I've seen two. I watched.
Yeah, my apologies.
Yeah, I like some more stuff too. I just don't really talk about it publicly too much because I figure people don't really care.
Well, it's also like once you're in kind of a bubble of stuff, sometimes it's just not beneficial to kind of
yeah, for sure.
If you're talking about shoujos and magical girl stuff and everything, and then you make a Demon Slayer movie, maybe not Demon Slayer, but you get what I'm saying, like some random shonen video, then it's like your actual subscribers and stuff are probably not going to care, and the people who come in because they're like, hell yeah, Demon Slayer, are going to look at the channel and be like, what the fuck is Fruits Basket?
Yeah, I don't think they would be too happy if I were to like talk about Dragon Ball or something.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Everyone's favorite shoujo, Dragon Ball.
It's true. I do talk about it a little bit in my upcoming video, but not too much.
Just as okay, I won't. I was gonna ask something about it, but that would be spoiling it, so I won't say anything. I'm trying to hold myself back. Before the podcast, I was trying to ask Hayden questions, but he was like, "Save it for the podcast." I'm like, "Yeah, that's a good idea." So I do have some questions, but I'll wait and see.
I can actually get into it a little bit.
Oh, sure,
since I've
perfect.
mentioned it in a couple places. So it's about Precure, since it's the 20th anniversary in February, I believe. So it's going to be covering the first season, going about how it was created, going over the conditions of the show, a lot of like staff related stuff, but I'll probably get into like what I actually think about the show later in the video.
Because this is about pretty cure, right?
Yeah,
that's like the long name, I guess, right? Yeah, okay. I had to look it up. Okay. Okay, yeah, 2004. Holy, this is.
There's a fuck ton of Precures.
Oh yeah.
I remember.
Oh yeah, I'm just looking at the analyst page, and there's like. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, there's a million of them. It's an annual franchise.
Yeah, we were playing AMQ or Anime Music Quiz had this event going on where it would put someone in like the lobby, in the event lobby, into like the boss slot, and it would only play songs from their list, and someone just had like Precure songs only. And so it was just a race to be like, all right, which of like the 10 billion Precures on the list is this song coming from?
Well, usually in the opening, they actually say the title of the show, which is not something you really see anymore, I feel. That's more of like a something you would see in like the 60s and 70s, I feel.
Yeah, now it's kind of about getting like a song.
Yeah, exactly. You just, get Lisa to clone another one of her songs.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, so maybe I can get into a couple of my questions. Well, I guess the first one is, how long have you been watching anime?
Since I was a little kid. I mean, I'm from the generation of people who grew up on anime on TV, so like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And I could always tell that they were different from like, SpongeBob. I only had Nickelodeon, so that's my only real frame of reference. But it
Right.
was it was different. I could tell that.
Yeah.
So eventually, that just led me to you know look up Yu-Gi-Oh because I was into playing the card game. I was playing that competitively for probably about a decade or so.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
I play it currently. So
Oh, sick.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
don't really
yeah.
have time to play anymore,
Yeah, yeah,
unfortunately.
it is a
Uh,
commitment for sure.
yeah,
I used to
but it's
play.
fun.
I used to play locally, not like
Mhm.
in a serious competitive manner, but like our local library would have little Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
it's a
like,
lot of fun. It smells really bad though. I was at a slow dive show recently, and it smelled just like a Yu-Gi-Oh card shop.
Oh
I
gosh.
don't know.
Yeah,
But
some
moving
places.
on with my story, so obviously being into really into Yu-Gi-Oh, I looked that up and found episodes that led me onto you know streaming sites, the ones we don't speak of.
Oh
And
no.
that led me to finding a bunch of other shows. I also found a bunch of stuff on YouTube, obviously. Some early anime I remember watching. Bludgeoning Angel Dokuro-chan. Girls Bravo, that was not a proud one.
Yes, yes, girl, bravo. Let's go. I
To
so I have
Loveru.
this to lovers. That's a
I
funny
was
one.
I was all about the ecchi shows as a kid.
I have this. I don't
Still am kind
remember
of.
if it was true or not. I swear, at one point, Girls Bravo was on Netflix, and that's how I found it.
Oh wow, that's really funny.
Like, I think I was just going through Netflix looking for shows. I saw this Girls Bravo show, and I was like, I don't know what this is. Did not know what I was signing up for. And then episode one, the fucking banana scene, is in episode one, and I
Oh
was
yeah,
just
the
like,
banana scene haunts me to
I
this
was
day.
just like, it was just like, do I want to keep watching this? Not really, but here we are.
Oh,
Um,
you bet I watched all of it,
oh
both
yeah,
seasons too.
you bet the entire thing. I really liked the brown haired girl.
I cannot remember anything about that.
It's
I must have been like how old was I?
Yujima,
Like
something like that.
maybe 10 or so.
What did I just watch? This is the banana
I
scene, right?
Yes, this is the
Oh
minute.
my god.
Um, I was probably a bit older, but I was still probably like teenage years.
Yeah, I was born in 2000, so I
Yeah,
think
I'm old ass man.
I want to say like Soul Eater might have been the first show that I was like keeping up with.
Okay, Soul Eater's based.
Yeah.
This is already we're having a moment here. This these are two important shows in my upbringing. Girls Bravo, don't know why that one happened, but it did.
It did to it a lot of people.
I
What
swear
are
it
some
was
other
on
shows
Netflix or
that you
something.
saw as
It
a
was
kid?
on. It was like very accessible for some reason. I don't know why. Zatch Bell was probably because I remember being on Toonami, obviously, and they would have like the One Pieces, Dragon Ball, the Naruto's. But then if you waited a little longer, you would get like Zatch Bell and Bo, and a couple of these like really funny, like more quirky anime. And I remember really liking watching a bunch of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember a couple of them too, but I didn't.
I recently tried to rewatch Zatch Bell. Um, it did not hold up very well, but it's
I
still
It
remember the
is
name. I just
very
don't remember
old.
anything from it. Yeah.
it's not the worst. It held up better than I thought Yu-Gi-Oh! GX did. When I tried to rewatch Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, it's not that like
I I never liked GX. I'm gonna
that's
be
fair.
real.
I think GX might be the worst of them, but GX was also the one that was actively releasing during like the period of time I was really into Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, I was following 5Ds as well. I remember that.
I just think the problem is GX took like half of the show to get a good plot, and then it didn't make sense. But at least it had a plot.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say that's pretty fair. It doesn't help as well that like like it's cool to like 4Kids now, and I do like a lot of their dubs, but GX is like a little too goofy. I don't really like their handling of Yu-Gi-Oh in general too much, because like Yu-Gi-Oh, it's like a subtle ridiculous, and then
Mm.
like you get into GX and like the writing that they do in the 4Kids dub, and it's like putting ridiculous on top of ridiculous, and it's like kind
You
of
know, like
losing the plot.
Didn't like grilled cheese guy. Just really
Yeah.
heckin' loves grilled cheeses.
Yeah.
I did watch a lot of 4Kids, but I think I was too like monkey to really think about at that time in my life, like
Too
good or
monkey.
bad writing. Like literally though, like I would watch
Yeah.
stuff
I
with
mean, yeah.
four
If you're a
kids,
kid, yeah, it makes sense.
and you could GX on there. You'd have the Sonic Show, Shaolin Showdown, fucking Jackie Chan Adventures.
I
All these
remember the
like
Kirby show on there.
yes, there was a Kirby show on there.
Yeah.
They have all these like
Yeah,
random
Kirby, right back at you.
collection, all this random collection of shows that were just like I. But when I really would look at them as like writing things, like Jackie Chan Adventures made no fucking sense. Why is Jackie Chan? But it was hype.
Yeah, I mean it's for kids too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think they did a good job of just getting kids into anime in general. I have a take with Card Captors as well, which is the English version of Card
Yes.
Captor Sakura, if you're familiar with that.
I'm familiar, but I never
So
watched it. But yeah.
yeah, so it's not a 4Kids dub, but it's one that people like to clown on a lot because no one has really seen it because it's not really available in very good quality. You know, if you want to get the authentic experience,
Yeah.
you got to watch TV rips off of like archive.org, and they all sound horrible, look horrible. It's just not the like
Not the
greatest
experience you
experience. But
want.
then actually watching it, um, they set out to do a lot of things. And I'm not gonna dwell like too deep into it if you haven't seen the show. But I do think they succeed in what they set out to do. It's a really interesting case with that show. Would definitely like to make a video on it someday.
Like,
Yeah. I'm
especially if it's not overly accessible. I mean, I guess that's a double-edged sword, but it's kind of interesting to talk about like almost lost series like that. It's like this exists and it's not the easiest thing to find, but
Oh yeah.
here's the scoop on it.
I mean, I guess running it back into like shoujo territories without like getting too deep and nitty gritty with like specifics of the show. If you're a shoujo fan, it's a pain in the ass like trying to watch a lot of these older shows. There's a show called Kaikan Phrase, Sensual Phrase, that I've been like obsessing over for probably a couple years now, and I haven't really been able to watch it really. It's like it's a show
See it
about a
if I can
band,
find it right
and then
now.
like apparently it's also really different from the manga because like the main character of the manga, who's a woman, like appears like halfway through the show or something like that. It's
what's the
strange.
name of the show again? Kai.
Sensual Phrase or Kaikan Phrase. But that's a show
Oh,
that
got it.
is
Yeah. Okay.
fully available in English. It's just only available via like shitty VHS rips.
Some random, yeah.
So you just have that like hard sub, just you're stuck in that.
Wait,
So
Van Stag.
a while ago, I actually tried to go back and resub some of it. So I have one episode up on my second channel,
Oh,
and
you
I do want
subbed.
to get
Okay.
around to the rest of it eventually. I'm also just excuse me, I was coughing. I mostly just took the subs that were available, at least the ones that I could decipher, just put them into the new like episode and only fixed up a couple
Oh,
of
okay.
like,
Okay. I see.
typing errors and like a few localizations things that I would personally change, but most of it is pretty like one-to-one with the original script of the original fan sub.
Gotcha.
It
Yeah.
just with a better video.
These are
Yeah,
some
it's
pretty good
interesting to think
VA.
about like all the shows that like never. I mean, yeah, like you mentioned that are just like lost or like they never got subbed or I mean, I guess a lot of things were just. Um, I mean, it's a different time back then, right? Like the resources we have for anime in the West right now are just like so much more vast than what it was like back in the day. So yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, yet still there's like so many shows that we just don't have access to.
Yep.
Another one is Mon Chéri Coco from 1971 or 73 or something, which is about it's a fashion show. They only made 13 episodes, I guess because it bombed really hard. It's a really ugly show, so like I can kind of see why
Yeah,
it failed.
this
But
promo
like
art is rough.
it's not great.
It's
But I still want to be able to like watch it.
right.
Um, but it's not available on the internet. But the thing about that specific show that I think it's a lot more available than we think in Japan, maybe because
Yeah.
they were doing like reruns of it in the 90s, I believe, or at least I've seen that from a couple of forum comments. So, like, surely somebody taped it onto VHS, if anything. So, like, somebody's got it. It's just that, like, maybe Japanese people don't want to release that stuff. There was another guy
Yeah.
who, like, got a hold of this. It was a Famicom game. It was an RPG, I believe, and it was a prototype, so it never came out. But he didn't want to dump the game. So that was an unfortunate case from a few years ago. And you will see that.
I guess it's also there's like a technology gap because like this is the 70s. So it's also what formats does it exist on
Yeah, I don't
to
know
begin
if
with?
VHS was like a
Question.
thing back then, and I
No.
don't think you could like record to a
I mean, I guess,
laser
yeah.
disc the same way you would like a VHS. And laser discs are
Yeah.
really expensive, so why would you tape this like
Yeah, exactly.
crappy crappy show when you
So
could
then it
be
becomes the
taping
question of
something good?
so we know it exists somewhere, most likely, and then it becomes a question of what technology can you find it on, and is that transferable in any way? And
Yeah, on tape
it's
cassettes.
it's
Yeah.
Yeah, for
probably
sure.
likely that the latter is just technologically not worth it, and so that's one of the reasons it's so hard to find.
Yeah. And it might just be that a lot of people don't give a shit. Like they have this
Like,
show and they might not be aware of it because they're like really old and they're like, "Oh, I remember watching this show back in the 90s and 70s," or something like that. It's not
It's a good
like,
impression of a
you know,
boomer. Yeah, I like that.
it's not like if I were to
Whippersnappers?
get a
Yeah.
hold of that, I would be like, "Oh my god, I got it. I need to make a video on this now and then I need to drop it, and then like when I drop it, that's going to bring attraction over to my video." Like they're obviously not thinking about it that way.
I
Yeah.
really do kind of feel like there would be something interesting to have like either a series or a single video talking about some of these like series that have just kind of been lost to time, especially
Yeah.
because within the genres that you really talk about, it's gonna like be fairly common, I would say.
Yeah. The only problem with like lost media is that there's a lot of channels revolved around lost media, but because
Yeah,
you can't actually watch
find it.
anything, then like what are you really going to say? Like, oh, Moncherry Coco, it exists. It looks like shit, but like,
But
I don't
it
know.
exists.
Maybe it's good. Maybe. And like I feel like a lot of people really obsess over that to the point where like people are more interested in finding lost media than they are actually
Watching it.
like watching something good.
Hmm.
And then like when you eventually find something, then like it's not going to be very special anymore. Like going back to video games, there was a uh
This
I
reminds
mean, there's
me.
like a lot of old prototypes and stuff like that of
Yeah,
unreleased games that are just not very interesting. So like people were looking for Bioforce Ape for like decades,
yeah.
and then like it eventually got dumped. And like, yeah, it's cool how fast that game is, and like the animation's kind of neat. But then like the level design is really confusing and sprawling, and like I don't know, it kind of sucks.
This also reminds me of a couple years ago. There was that one YouTube video
The
that went
McDonald's
viral
game.
talking exactly the McDonald's game, the McDonald's trading game.
Oh yeah,
Um,
That
by
video
Nick
was so
and,
Robinson.
fire.
and that's obviously like a different thing, but that's just what this reminded me of. Is that kind of like
This.
saga where it makes the video talking about the game, and then through that video, I'm pretty sure there was like some breakthroughs with that too, where it was like that video went
Yeah,
viral. It's almost like, yo, I have a copy of this.
I mean that's like the ideal. really. Like Raymona is another example. I don't like the fact that she puts watermarks on, a lot of these pilots and stuff like that. I think that's kind of shitty. But like, who am I to say anything? Like, she got in contact with the Library of Congress and gave us the Sailor Moon, like live action thing. Like, that's incredible. That's definitely something like to be celebrated. But then a lot of other people, I don't know, it's just very sensationalist, like I mentioned.
Yeah.
It's only interesting to the people who like it's only interesting because we don't have access to it, and when it is eventually going to be available, if it becomes available, like who knows, maybe it's just an animation test for like some college kid or something like that. Like, it's not very special, but like because it's related to Mickey Mouse or something like that, that makes it interesting.
Yeah, that's I don't know, stuff like that just always piques my interest because it's so wild with all of the information we have access to nowadays that
Yeah,
stuff
for sure.
still be lost. Even though like it's logically makes sense. Like things have always been lost throughout history and it's the same now. It's just kind of interesting to think about, like especially in media, like forms of media that have been lost when it's only been, you know, 50 years in the grand scheme.
50
I
is
mean,
a long time.
well, no, no, no. But this is what
That's
I'm
a
gonna
long
say.
time. That's
In the
half a
grand
century.
scheme, it's really not. But technology has progressed so
It
fast
is
too
so, yeah,
that
it's so fast.
it like comparatively, technology has probably advanced hundreds of years in terms of when you compare it to like the progression of technology before the last 50 years.
Yeah,
So it makes sense.
it's like crazy just how like quickly like we talked about like Blu-rays and like their collectability in like Japan with like anime and like movies and stuff like that. But like if you think about like the progression of like how we watch media, it's like crazy. We had VHS for 25, 30 years or something like that. And then DVDs happened and it feels like DVDs and then like I guess Blu-rays kind of for a while. And those two forms of media in like less than a decade just like completely vanished. It's like crazy. Yeah, especially yeah with media, it's just been like a roller coaster for the past 50 years. It's
Yeah,
insane.
physical media is like so irrelevant now, which is
Yeah, it is.
really
Physical, like
unfortunate.
so many things is completely irrelevant, but yeah.
Yeah, like people talk about like the aesthetic of VHS and stuff like that, and that stuff is like cool, I guess.
It's like
I've seen stuff
trash, but
on
no, I mean,
VHS
yeah, I
myself.
understand. Yeah,
And yeah, there's something to that,
sure,
definitely.
nostalgia. Yeah.
Um, but I think what we really lost in physical media were a lot of the bonuses. So, like
Yeah,
recently,
that is true.
I got X the series X 1999 by Yoshiaki Kawajiri, directed by, I should say. Story by Clamp, obviously. But it had an interview by Yoshiaki Kawajiri in it, and it was pretty interesting, like seeing how like he wanted to make it slightly different from the original manga in the ways he went about it. I haven't seen the whole show myself yet, but I could kind of see a little bit of what he was talking about. But I like had no idea that he did such a thing because like you look it up on, well, I don't know if it's on Crunchyroll. You look up any of these shows on Crunchyroll or Netflix, and you just see the show. You don't see any of the staff interviews or like
Yeah.
the character design sheets and anything like that. That would be interesting for like a researcher, which is what I'm more interested in.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff is moved kind of separately. Well, you'll see like a lot of like character sheets get released in like art books now, as opposed to maybe with like. Though I think Japan usually has like a bunch of stuff with their Blu-rays, as opposed to here where it's like, oh, yeah, you get your Blu-ray on like the
Yeah, like maybe you get a
grocery store
like a
shelf.
dub interview or something, and it's like, oh, cool.
Yeah, I vividly remember like having like Harry Potter DVDs and they used to have like interviews with the cast and stuff like that. I guess part of that is like um as opposed to physical media where everything would be like, like you mentioned like the collectible part of it. I guess it's just like more spread out, right? Like, because if you go to YouTube for like any any show or any movie, there's like usually if it's like a pretty big movie or show, there's usually like interviews with like the directors and stuff like that. Like for a lot of shows, you can find that kind of stuff like on YouTube. But yeah, I mean, I guess you have to go out of your way to look up that stuff, right? Whereas
Yeah.
with physical media, it's like kind of contained in it in a lot of cases. So yeah, that
I
makes
mean,
sense.
at the same time, it's also easier to put out interviews than ever. Like if I
Yeah,
worked on
yeah,
a
yeah.
show,
That's
I could
the
just like record something and put it on YouTube.
flop it on
Or
YouTube.
like a lot of old shows, like Precure, as I mentioned. I saw a blog of one of the writers he was talking about all of the episodes that he was writing for Max Heart, which is like the second season of the original show. And it's pretty interesting. I've seen that for like Fun Pharmacy as well. Um, but like it's just kind of like you really have to go out of your way to find a lot of that stuff.
Mhm. Yeah, I think another thing that you kind of like, I feel like that's been highlighted and that I like don't really think about, and not a lot of people think about is like, because you mentioned a lot of the shows that were like lost to time and to whatever media, whatever form that show was in, whatever form media that show was in, it's not accessible now. But it's like, uh, when we talk about like older anime, there's like always like a few classics from before like 2000, but I feel like just like so many different shows, even if anime was like smaller than it is now, it's just like there's so many shows that like people just like have not seen, like especially in the West, and it's just like it's interesting to see that think that like there's like a whole other generation of anime that people just like don't almost ever interact with. I don't know. That's just like very interesting because it's like
Yeah, definitely for sure. And like
there's some
what's even
classics,
more
right? But like
interesting,
yeah.
what's even more interesting to me is seeing like the subset of people um coming out of, I mean, I guess it's like always been a thing, but I see it like really prevalently now of like even a lot of like kids and teenagers getting into well, on the like magical girl side, like they're really into um like Sugar Rune, and like Shugo Kara has always been popular, but I don't know if Sugar Rune has always been popular. And you can just find a bunch of examples. Obviously, like going outside of that, Lane is a lot of people's personalities. Nana is incredibly popular right now. What else is there? Like you can just find a bunch of these examples
Mhm.
of both like stuff
Isn't
that has
Nana?
always been pretty popular, like Nana, and stuff that hasn't really been popular. And maybe those are just more popular within like specific like spheres of like friend groups and stuff like that. So like if you're a long like if you're going to be friends with me for a long time, you're eventually going to find out about like Flying Luna Clipper and Malistal and Matierika and like whatever else. And that's like stuff that no one is talking about, but I specifically find really interesting. So and like I see this on my anime list occasionally. Like sometimes people will be adding me, and then I go onto their page, and like they have Kobato, Flying Luna Clipper, Petite Princess Yushi all added to their Planet Watch, and I'm like, what in what in the world? What is going on?
So you
But it's
mentioning
kind of a cool feeling.
yeah, you mentioning Nana reminded me of the fact. So the source material for Nana is on hiatus. I remember
Yeah.
seeing this a long time ago, and seeing that it's been on hiatus since 2009,
Oh
and
yeah.
kind of having the thought of like, well, at that point, is it even a hiatus? But then I did like go to look in the research to find out what exactly was going on, and so I don't know if you know anything about the hiatus of it, but just you mentioning it reminded me of that, and I was just kind of curious.
Yeah, I haven't read it myself or seen it. The only thing by Ayazawa that I've like seen, I haven't read any of her stuff, but I've seen Neighborhood Story, which is the prequel
Yep.
to Paradise Kiss, which maybe you know of.
Yeah, I've heard the name. I
Yeah,
don't.
That one is
the
really good.
series. But
But I haven't actually seen or read anything else, which is really interesting. Because I started with the one that like people don't really talk about, but I like it a lot.
fair enough.
Um,
I know
but yeah,
Nana's
I was
one
aware
I've
of the hiatus. It's
Nana's one
probably
I've
just a
looked
health
at
thing.
in the past, just because I really enjoy a lot of like musical based series, and so Nana's one I kind of look at every so often. But yeah,
Yeah, Kaikan
I
Phrase is musical
remembered.
based.
Ooh, good to know. I remembered looking at the series and seeing it's been on hiatus for so long, and I was kind of like, I wonder, one, why it's been on hiatus for so long, of course, but also it's interesting that it's still considered on hiatus after such a long time, and that's probably not something that we would really be able to get too much information about. But it's just interesting.
Yeah, I've
It
talked to
does look
Shapes
like it's
about it,
health
and the
based.
impression that I get is it might be like a vagabond sort of situation. I haven't seen that either, or read that either. But like if you read Nana and you get to the point where it like finishes, quote unquote, like that's still pretty like satisfactory.
Yeah, which is also fair if it's to say because it. I did find that it was a health related thing. Fair enough. Um,
Yeah.
if that happened and then it's kind of in a satisfactory spot, maybe just not sure if they want to continue or not, but still leave it open because at the same time the story is not, at least in terms of the thought of theoretical product, not finished.
I just did 5 seconds of research, and according to the Game Rant article, don't know, your
Gamer.
number one source on anime
Yeah, I was
manga
gonna say,
updates.
are we?
Apparently the author did talk about it very recently, 2022 actually.
Mm.
Um, the expedition is dedicated to everyone who supports me and keeps reading my work. I'm terribly sorry for making everyone worry since I've taken a long hiatus from Nana. I feel like my body has been recovering little by little while preparing for this event as well. Not only that, but I would love to keep working on my manga while taking care of my health from now on. Please look forward to when that time comes. So it seems like it will be back
So
eventually,
theoretically, yeah,
but it's just a
Yeah.
matter of when.
Yeah, and I'm like I just like wish the best for her, honestly. Like it's so cruel. I remember before Miura passed away, like people would make what is it, like Idolmaster jokes all the time because he was like really
yeah,
into the video games or something like that. And like, come on. Like just let him be. Like Berserk has been going on for so long. Like I don't think there's any manga author that doesn't have health problems because like it's such a tight schedule and everything, and just like
it's such
there's
a
so
tight
many things to
schedule.
read and watch, and you know things you could make. Like I don't need
Yeah,
to wait for Nana to finish or anything like that. I can, you know, make my own videos. Like that'll occupy me plenty for years to come.
yeah. It's also just like I don't know. It's interesting seeing how frequent health issues come up with mangakas because it's like a very strenuous job, but you don't necessarily think about that
Yeah,
until
because
you
you're
see
just
all these
reading the
come up.
story. Like you
Yeah,
don't really
exactly.
attach yourself to the person actually making it, because like a lot of the times you don't really have a face necessarily. And the same thing with anime, you just see like you're watching Jujutsu Kaisen and like it looks amazing. You're not really thinking too much about like what the people are
What's
actually going
going on in the
through.
studio?
Yeah, it's just, this selfish desire for like peak, I guess.
It's like, oh boy, they came out this week. They must be doing fine. Surely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I'm a big One Piece fan. I've been caught up with it for a while, and so this is kind of something that actually I think a lot of One Piece fans have just gotten used to at this point, to the point where the community actively is like, "Go ahead, King, take your break. Take a week or two off. It's all good. We'll be here." And so it's kind of funny to see that perspective because Oda's been doing this so long, and we've seen because it's been so long, those breaks become more and more frequent, right? And it's happened
Yeah.
like everyone. that's writing these long series. We see it obviously at a really extreme level with Hunter x Hunter, but it's just so many years of doing that, especially at a high level, meeting those deadlines, but also like surprisingly physical taxing job. You wouldn't think
For
about
sure,
it
yeah.
until you actually, think about it.
Yeah, like if you actually get into drawing, like it is incredibly taxing on your wrist. I've been through it myself. Even just like editing videos, like when I got back home from vacation, my arms were so
Hmm.
sore from carrying my luggage and like that. There's a lot of lore behind that trip that I won't go
Oh
into because
man.
it's
Oh
very
boy.
exhaustive. But basically, my arms were like about to fall off, and then like immediately getting home, I'm like, well, better get to work on this video. So like bunch of writing. I was masking out like a bunch of stuff like frame by frame, which was not great for my arm either. But I was going through it anyway because like what else was I gonna do? Rest? I mean that's what I should have done, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I like
Well, it's
working.
also like overwork when you think of like weightlifting and stuff like that, overworking certain muscles. But it's the same with stuff like writing and just things like that where you're still overworking specific muscles. It's just not an activity that up until recently people would consider like a physical activity, right?
Yeah, for
Um
sure.
and only recently have people really caught on to the fact that like no, it's the same as, thinking about overworking your biceps by doing specific exercises, like doing frequent writing and frequent drawing, especially on these really tight deadlines for years upon years. Like those specific muscles are being worked to the max.
Yeah, and like at the same time, it's a hard thing to balance as well. Because like personally, I'm not really a fan of like the toxic positivity approach either. Like I want my friends to really push me, like get back
To
to
do
writing,
stuff.
get back to
Yeah.
editing, stuff like that, like make some progress instead of like, oh, you should take a rest. Oh, you should you know, take a break. Don't worry about it. And I'm like, bruh, for the past like 2 years, I've
Yeah.
released 4 videos.
You're like, I've
That's
been
so
in the
bad.
break.
Like I put a lot of work into them. It shows. I like to think, but at the same time, like I don't know. I think um, like that push from a healthy source to a healthy amount is like incredibly important. But then there's also like a social aspect to that. Like how far do you push someone? When like do you tell like somebody when somebody is at their limits?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like not related to anime, but I feel like I have to mention it just because like we were talking about like the stress of working and like the mental aspect of it, and like I think the mental and physical stuff, it's like all intertwined. Like one can affect the other a lot. So even if like people are thinking that like, oh, like writing or drawing or whatever, it's not like physically taxing. It's like the mental wear and tear that has on you is going to affect your physical health, like for sure. So that's like something also to keep in mind. Yeah, just
Totally.
yeah,
I mean, certainly like stress is one of the
yeah,
biggest factors in that too, right?
100%. Yep.
So I guess this kind of a thought I've had since you mentioned that you watch a lot of and talk about a lot of shoujos and magical girl stuff. But since we're obviously not super familiar with these genres, are there any shows in particular that you kind of would champion or like recommend to people who might not be familiar with the genres as not necessarily like entry points, but just kind of things that it's like this is what these like genres and themes are really about, and kind of
Right.
like you know
So I feel like I actually have like a pretty different approach to like recommending stuff in general because
mhm,
like it's all personal at the end of the day. Like if you were to ask me like what do you think is the pinnacle of the genre or something, like I think no other anime has resonated with me as much as Kobato. No other manga has resonated with me more than With the Light. But like both of those are really about like
deep emotional
childcare.
ones.
A lot
Yeah.
of it. It's about raising children and like being aware of that, which is something that speaks to me a lot because I've always like had a lot of people around me or like people that I've watched that um have just had a massive influence on me in like my own times of need. Like not gonna get like too
Yeah.
deep into that. But we all have those people that we really like respect and admire. So like I like that a lot, but then somebody else might just really hate children. I was talking to another friend of mine who was telling me about how he thought that Hugto Precure was kind of mid. I haven't seen that season, but essentially that one is about childcare quite a bit as well, from what I know. So I think
So
that will
based off
really
that,
resonate with
yeah.
me. But he didn't like it because children crying and screaming, even being me, like sometimes it can be a little much.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, going back to like the question, I think really just um go onto like a list site or something like that and just scout out a cover that you think looks interesting, like with characters that you're attracted to or you want to find out more about their story. And that's you might not like all of the shows, but I think that's how
Yeah.
you'll really find the stuff that ends up connecting with you because there's that element of surprise. When I watched Kobato, I watched it because of um, Digibro past tense, now Beatrice. Um, they were talking about every single anime that they dropped. They were making like a video of that and just going through their list. And Kobato was one of them, where they watched like 2 episodes or something, and they were like, "Yeah, I don't know, like main character is like kind of dumb, kind of like don't care about the show. It's boring." And I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
This like cover is really pretty. I want to watch that. And then like from literally the first episode, I knew that it was going to be something special. Whereas if I had been like if that had been like the Full Metal Alchemist or something, like everybody just recommends it, then it's like, wow, that was really incredible. Good show. I liked it. And that's it. They don't really have that same infatuation. Same thing with like Malice Doll and Flying Luna Clipper. That's stuff that pertains to me like very specifically. And the people who are into like that kind of stuff, like horror and dolls and like MSX like graphics and stuff like that, you're going to be really into it. But I guess giving you a more traditional answer in terms of magical girls, probably like I would say Cardcaptor Sakura, but there's some stuff that a lot of people nowadays might not really appreciate in that show. Not a lot of stuff. It's literally like 1 or 2 things
I
at
was about to
most.
say, is that something you could give examples of, or is that something that we'd rather just steer away from?
Yeah, there's a very infamous case of like a student-teacher relationship
Gotcha.
that's like
Yikes. Okay, well,
kind of hinted at in the anime, not really so much, but then in the manga, it's like, oh, you just gave that kid like an engagement ring. I don't know about that.
I'm sure we
I
talked
see.
about
Uh,
worse on here.
yeah, but
yeah,
that's like
actually, yeah,
one
We've
thing
definitely talked about
in a
worse.
longer story.
yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
mean, I've seen a
worth,
lot worse too because I watched literally
yeah.
everything.
It's just worth noting, like, always asking the question: is it something we can talk about, or it's something that's better, before
To
knowing?
to NSFW.
Be,
If YouTube
be
doesn't
careful.
care, then I think it's good enough. But I mean, there's not too many topics that YouTube would shoot us down for. So
I
it's
always laugh
got
every time I look at the Magical Girls tag and I see Symphogear there, and I'm like, I guess.
there are a lot of things that are kind of like that. Like Data Lab's not too far away from a magical girl, but I don't think anyone would actually consider it that.
Yeah,
I think
I mean, some people
yeah.
are really anal about what counts and what doesn't. Like, I don't really count Cutie Honey as a magical girl because she's an android, but then like Toei recognizes her as a magical girl show, and then there's like a lot of like aesthetic value to that and marketability and like whatever. Like, sure, Cutie Honey counts, whatever. I don't care too much.
I have heard a lot of things about Cardcaptor Sakura, so that makes sense.
I have
I have a
two,
friend
actually.
who's really into the series.
It is great. It probably has like the best animation. It's probably the best produced show ever made, I'd say. Just period, like not even just out of anime.
Good to know. It definitely looks interesting. I also know random things about it just because of my friend, but I also don't understand what they mean. Like I've seen the little card designs that look like what's the like future telling card decks or whatever.
Like tarot
They
cards.
were yeah,
Yeah, tarot card.
they
Oh,
remind me
yeah.
of tarot cards. Obviously not the same, but I've seen those frequently with the series, just as kind of like a thing. And I'm like, I wonder what this is about.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
I'm
you
really.
know that could be a thing too. Like a lot of '90s shows used tarot cards, and that's
Yeah,
not
that's the
really
basis of a
something
lot of
you
things.
see
Yeah.
anymore. Like
Yeah,
JoJo has them, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure, right? Stardust Crusaders,
I haven't seen
Persona,
JoJo's
obviously.
Evolution.
I do
But
like.
I know like the concept of tarot cards and like the different characters in the tarot cards. I don't know what they're called, but that's a very common. I shouldn't say very common, but it's like a relatively frequent theme in media. Like I feel like I've seen it in a lot of different shows, not just anime, but other things.
Yeah,
So
like
yeah,
a lot of video games too. Persona,
yeah,
as I
yeah,
just
yeah,
mentioned.
yeah.
That being said,
Yeah,
I think Fable would.
that's an element that I really like. I definitely like to check out anything that has them in it. You can just do a lot with them.
Yeah, the different what are the names of the like the fool, the jester or whatever,
Yes.
like
So the fool. That's a funny one. Was it Bastard Academy that had the fool in it, or was it Stigma of the Wind? It was one of the two had like the main character was quote the fool, and then it would bring some of those tarot cards in as like specific named characters,
yeah.
and they
Uh,
would have like the special ability of the card. It was one of those two, I think. Might have been Stigma of
I
the Wind.
remember the main character of Rokuaka was like the fool or some
Yes,
shit.
that might be the one I'm thinking of then.
Cool.
Side thought because we actually talked about this a few weeks ago because Daniel and I have recently watched Madoka, and we were talking about how
Yo, I
Madoka
did too. I should
seems
notice.
like you did too. That's true. Madoka is seemingly kind of a hot topic for the
Yeah.
magical girl
What's the
community.
beef?
Oh yeah, it is.
Oh, there's beef.
Yeah, there's beef.
Yes, there is beef.
Holy.
Yeah, so it's like a fandom, like it's kind of divided, where a lot of people who are into more traditional sort of magical girls, like your Sailor Moon and Shugokara, stuff like that, they don't like Madoka because they say that like it altered the genre into being more like dark otaku focused, which like objectively is not correct. I remember talking to Mumi about it, who's a huge Madoka fan, and he told me that like in the years after Madoka came out, there have been more like quote unquote wholesome magical girl shows than dark ones. So there's like Magical Girl Racing Project, Magical Girl Sight. Um, I wouldn't really count gushing over magical girls as a
I
part of that.
I was avoiding
If you know
mentioning it,
about that.
but since we're there,
Yeah.
um, interesting because I like we were saying we do know the like surface level of it that a lot of people in those communities just don't particularly like Madoka. Not the show itself, but what it's done.
Yeah,
Mhm.
honestly, I think it's just like a bunch of cope and like kind of brainwashing, like people telling you that Urabuchi is like this sexist, like scumbag, and like they never have any sources to anything that he said. and it's just a bunch of yapping, and I'm like, bruh, y'all don't know anything. Like, have you seen like Lyrical Nanoha or Nurse Angel Rirka SOS? That's like from the mid 2000s and like mid or late 90s, and those are pretty dark. Like Rirka especially is all kinds of fucked up, and nobody talks about that. Huh. I guess it's only a problem
They gotta take
with
aim
Madoka
at,
because
like,
it's
the infamous
like,
one.
yeah, because like it's the one that people know. It's really interesting too because I feel like a lot of like Magical Girl Historian is like kind of a meme to me, because like people like acting like they know a lot about the history, but they don't actually like looking into the history beyond some like YouTube videos. So, oh, I know that Sally the Witch is the first Magical Girl show, but then it's like, okay, so do you know anything about the show? Do you know anything like what it did, what it influenced, what it was influenced by? I don't know. It's that like aesthetic of Magical Girl, I feel, that people are just really drawn to. Same thing with like how people are really drawn to shoujo as like a concept, whereas like if you actually ask a lot of women who are into anime now, they're into like JJK and like a lot of the popular shonen, partly because it's just like an engaging story, but then like some of them have some like BL like traits to them. I haven't seen Hunter x Hunter, but I think that's like a popular one for that, I believe.
Yeah. It is interesting, just kind of with the a lot of genre labels too, how because stuff is so readily accessible and media has gone so, how do I put it? It's so easy to watch just whatever is available and hear about the things that are really good. It's not that genre labels like um seinen, shonen, and shoujo are invalid these days, but it's also I feel like there's a lot more mixing of people just watch good shows,
For sure. And I
especially
think you
in the
see
West,
that
obviously.
in like more media in general, like especially
Mhm.
music. Like who cares about music genres anymore? Like
If the song's
just
good, it's good.
put everything into one song, and as long as it sounds good, then like what does it matter?
Yeah, which is just kind of interesting because I mean, obviously the labels started because it's how they would be published most of the time.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean it mattered when you were like, going to record stores or something like that, and you wanted like I don't know, like a rap album or something, so you would pick up
you look there.
like whatever Kanye or something like that, and just to try it out. Like it mattered a lot more, but now you can just go onto Mal and see like, oh, I'm into magical girl shows, but I don't really like fan service. So, oh, this
Yep.
gushing over
We won't
magical girls
watch the
show, ooh, that one looks a little sus. Maybe I won't watch this.
Yeah.
Wonder how many people went into that like, oh yes, a new magical girl show. Let's
yes,
go.
new magic.
Have you guys been watching it?
No,
No,
I've seen. Well, Twitter has made sure that I'm keeping up on all the important parts, of course, but I have not. I have not actually watched it.
Yeah,
I
so
had
I've actually been
considered.
watching it. I was literally finishing up episode 3 right before recording this podcast. Um, it's pretty funny. Like you don't need to know anything about the genre necessarily to enjoy it. I feel it's it is sus, but it's sus in the way that we were talking about Girls Bravo and stuff like that. I don't think it's too different from a lot of those etchy shows like of way back when. Which do we get a lot of those anymore? I feel
Not
like we don't.
really. Like
No,
Seems like
probably not.
you'll
yeah.
get
I
the
think
Seems
it
like
either
occasional thing, but
either goes too over the top because like Girls Bravo as an example is etchy, but it was also like funny and in a way that it was fan servicey, but it didn't feel like that's all I was watching for, right?
Yeah.
Although I do not remember the plot to that show at all. In
yeah.
total honesty.
Yeah, I feel like it was way more softcore than something like, To Love You, where it's a lot more
Two
heavily
lovers. Yeah.
implemented.
Yeah.
I freaking love To Love You. Some of the directors of To Love You actually worked on Gushing Over Magical Girls.
I can see the
Yeah, that
influence.
checks out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like 3 like uncensored shows going on right now, which I feel like is pretty unprecedented. Like usually at most it's 1, usually none, unless you're into like actual just
Just
straight
you're
up
really
hentai.
looking
But
for him. Yeah.
That was like a weird trend that happened like a few years ago. Do you guys remember like just hentai on television? Like a lot of those shows? That would be
um,
like 5 to 7 minutes per episode.
oh well, okay. I think I actually watched one of those. I don't have it on my list,
It's
but it was
I
like
think Overflow is like the popular one out of those.
Overflow is
Oh, God.
might have watched.
popular one.
Yeah, that one is on my list. What was the God? It was like. Oh, I have to look this up.
Overflow is also based. I will say that.
It was like,
Yeah, it's pretty decent.
oh, what the fuck was it? It was like one of these. It was one of those shorts. It was like this dude was like the ancestor, or no, his ancestor was like, fuck, what was the name? It's like it's a important name in Japan or some shit. You see it all the time, like Nabaguna or some shit like that. I can't remember the name, but basically like this guy was like the descendant of that guy, and suddenly
Oh,
like
Nobunaga.
yeah, Nobunaga. That it was a really weird show. Like for a while it wasn't. It was like very there it is. I think this is it.
Yeah, that clocks out because they make like anything into like a Nobunaga property.
Yeah.
So it was this anime right here. Nobunaga teacher's young bride. It was a weird show.
This a 47. Holy shit!
It's
Did I watch
bad.
this?
It's really bad. I don't even know. I don't remember why I started. I think I was just looking for romances, and I like saw the romance tag. I'm like, oh yes, of course. Let me try this one. And then I was not prepared. But yeah, I'm not gonna add that to my list. I'm sure pretend like I never watched that, but it was an anime of all time. It wasn't even like
It sure was.
uncensored for a bit. Like I was not expecting it to go that route. For a while, it was just kind of like typical like etchy skirting the boundaries, and then
Yeah, and
like,
then all of a sudden,
and suddenly like boom, I'm like, oh, it's kind of like almost it was like the long-term planned situation of like when I watched Goddess Dormitory and I didn't know what that was about. Because I had read like half the summary and was like, oh, this seems pretty wholesome. Then I stroll into it, I'm like, uncensored, that's odd. And boom, there's like literally frame 1 titty. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm watching this for other reasons now.
I believe there's like one of those kinds of shows airing like this season. And, like episode 2 recently came out.
There's like the Wedding Ring one, Gushing Over Magical Girls, and Chain Soldier are all like the uncensored ones, but I don't know if there's like a hidden horny somewhere that I don't know about.
there usually is. Most seasons, there's
Yeah, there's always one. If you look at like
I hear about them all from
if you go to analyst and you search by season, is there like if you sort by like popularity or whatever the default things, it's always near the bottom. Like
Oh yeah, Adam's Sweet Agony is the one I'm thinking about.
Isn't that just like a straight up hentai though?
Yeah, that's an ONA.
Yeah, okay.
Nice.
Well,
yeah, I guess that would make more sense than like putting it on television.
Yeah.
I don't know. I remember there was a harem camp. Is that what it was? A couple seasons ago.
Yeah, recently.
I did watch that too.
I had
say that was a hentai, but I can't remember.
I kept hearing about that from Mr. Toshi.
Of course, it'd be Toshi.
Yeah.
That one was okay.
I keep scrolling through Magical Girl tag just for fun, and question from the perspective of a Fate fan: do you guys hate Prisma Ilya? Or do you?
I was watching that with a friend. I feel like that's also like a really polarizing one because like obvious reasons.
Yeah.
I only ask
Especially like a lot
like
of magical girl fans who are like especially sensitive towards that stuff, which makes sense. Like if you're a woman, you're probably going to be
Mhm.
less okay with that than a lot of, you know, non-women.
I only ask because I'm like really into all the Fate series, but I've been specifically avoiding Prisma Ilia for the obvious reasons.
Well, you're
Um,
contractually obligated to watch it by the fact that you like
I am contractually obligated to watch it, but there was no time frame set.
Yeah, this contract is kind of
It has been a few
sus.
years at this point, I think. Um, I used to in the past do coin flips for watching new shows and just like force people to flip coins, and if they won a certain amount of times, I'd be like, "All right, I'll watch your show." And yeah, I
How's that
definitely
Clannad
have
watching?
watched
How's that going?
definitely have watched all of the shows that have been rolled
Yeah.
through that
Uh-huh.
process. Anyway, so at one point, Prisma Ilia had come up, and it was that whole like, okay, if you get, I don't even know how many coin flips I told them, but it was some high number. Let's say 6. It was like 6 coin flips, I'll do it in a row. They got 6 coin flips. It's like fuck. But I've also like I've
Hold
watched
on.
everything else
Back
Fate.
up for a second. You gave Prisma Ilia
Listen,
six flips in a row, but you gave Clannad for me 10 fucking flips? Are you kidding me? This
I
is
don't think that's exactly how it went. I actually feel like Toshi and I might have had a 1v1 where it was like, if you win, I'll watch Prisma Ilia, and if I win, he'll watch Card Fight
something.
Vanguard? Something. I think there may have been it may have been a 1v1 situation in this.
There's no way you would have made watching Prisma Ilia an easier coin flip experience than me trying to get you to watch Clannad.
That is probably true. Then again, I was very racist towards Clannad.
Yeah, it's still
I
are,
mean, would you
'cause
rather come or
never
would you
watched it.
would you rather cry or would you rather do something else? Fuck, I fucked that up. No.
I could feel the joke forming, and it just never quite formed. Anyway, that was just a random thought because as a Fate fan, it's also polarizing for the same reasons, but in a different way. Because it's also like not super important to any of the Fate stuff. It's just kind of more Fate and more Ilya content because Ilya has basically no content within any of the Fate IPs.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm not a Fate viewer necessarily. I've seen Unlimited Blade Works, which I was very mid on, and I'm not really like super enthused about diving into the rest of it. Like Fate Zero is probably good, I'm sure,
I was gonna say
but there's a
Fate,
lot of it,
Fate
and I
Zero
do
is
not want to read a
phenomenal.
200 like hour visual novel.
Yes. You are perfectly fine where you are at, but Fate Zero is quite good.
I hate
Yeah,
when you
I think
think
that'll probably be
of
the
like
one. That and Fate Stay Night by Dean, I've been pretty interested in. Because people
Stay
shit on
Night,
it all the time,
yeah.
which means that, like, it's a 50-50 that it's
Whether
actually
it's
going
a
to be
good
good.
opinion or
yeah,
not,
it's either
yeah.
gonna be peak or it's gonna be truly ass.
Literally.
The problem with
Um,
the Fates is usually you either watch the first couple and then call it a day, or you get stuck into everything like I am. And it's not worth it. But I love the franchise. It just wasn't worth it. I've sunk
I
so
mean,
many
you
hours
enjoyed
into random
yourself. You
Fate
can't
stuff.
say it wasn't. I mean,
I mean,
that's worth it, right?
you're not a
I
true Fate fan until you played the visual novel back in front.
That's true. I do play the mobile game. I'm not finished with the mobile game story. I've had this since it launched, and I've still not finished the mobile game story because I'm that bad at reading stuff.
Yeah.
I
Also,
still haven't
watching
watched Fate, but the music slaps. I love Fate music. Actually,
Fate music is really good.
it's
I
so
wanted
good.
to make a joke. We were talking about Card Captor Sakura, and I was like, if I started this, Daniel might murder me.
I know I would murder dude because you keep putting things on the. Okay, so I guess for context, his watching list is like 60, 70 anime
Oh my
long
Okay,
right
god.
now. He
let's
does
get a
not
number. Let's get a
finish
number.
fucking anything.
74.
70.
74
Yeah,
watching, 17 paused.
yeah. So
damn.
that's realistically, that's actually like closer. What 74? And you said what 16?
16 paused. or 17 paused.
Okay, so that's like 91 shows that I guarantee are actually closer to drop than watching. So
No, that's not true. We've done this.
you're not gonna finish any of them, and I
The worst part is, I guess not the worst part, but it's the funniest part, is like I've dropped a lot of shows, but it's the fact that he's like PK's like logged them all on like his annual list as watching. It's just like it's so funny. Some of them are like 7 out of 12 episodes. It's just
Some
like
of them are pretty bad. If you scroll through, there are some that are like 21 of 23, 9 of 12.
yeah, there are
Things
things on
that I
this
could
list
finish in like an hour.
you were never going to watch Smartphone Season 2.
I have to. It's
You
my
don't have to.
God-given destiny to watch Smartphone Season 2.
I never actually answered the Ilya question.
Oh yeah,
I don't know. I think I remember it being like, kind of funny. Might be a similar deal to like gushing over magical girls, where it's like, yeah, it's sus, but like, it's kind of funny, kind of epic.
I've heard it's actually like
Going into like actually watching anime. Do you do you find it difficult to watch anime? Like, I know that's a silly question.
I find it difficult to do anything. My attention span is so short, and technology only makes it worse. Because sometimes I'll start a show and then I'll get a Discord notification or like a Twitter notification or something like that, and then that show's not getting finished that night. Because then I just go down this rabbit hole of wherever life takes me.
Oh yeah, I feel that.
Yeah, I can see you just put Yuki Yuna on your plan to watch. That's not getting finished.
Don't worry about it.
That's not getting.
It's on the plan. It's on the plan. It's fine.
That's not.
It's in planned jail.
It's like planned is just like pre-dropped.
Sure.
Pre-dropped is a crazy word to use.
You're not finishing any of those. He's got to finish Clan one of these fucking days. I toiled for, so he made me get 10 coin flip predictions in a row correct before. Well, I got it on a discount day. I think I got it like 6 in a row.
It was
good enough.
I eventually felt so bad I started giving him discount days, and I'd be like, you know what, let's do 6 today.
Yeah, it took like half a year to get enough coin flips for him to actually start it, or to watch it, and he watched 1 episode, and he hasn't continued since. Actually, maybe
I watched 2 episodes.
Oh, my bad. You only got 40 more to go.
I see 2 of 23. I do not remember.
After Story was a bundled package with Clan.
I will see you in court.
That's crazy.
I think I'm gonna win that.
It's a threat.
Honestly, if I ever get through the 23 episodes or the 21 episodes I have left of base Clan Ad, I probably will like it by that point anyway.
Yeah, I'll see you on Judge Judy.
I think I can actually chime in when it comes to like actually motivating yourself to watching anime, because I'm close to 3,000 completed. I'm at 2,865. And like really the trick, honestly, we were talking about like watching anime on television like back in the day, like for kids and stuff like that. Just like turning on an episode of a show does so much for you to like go through something, because it's really just taking that initial step that's the most daunting. Because like,
I would agree with that. I will get lost in like YouTube shorts and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. Like you see an episode and it's like 24 minutes, and then like, oh my god, it's 12 episodes, 24, 50, 100 Dragon Ball, you know. But then like you turn on episode 1 of Dragon Ball. I was watching a little bit of it for like clips for like a what is it, like a 1 minute bit in my video, and I was like, just watching the first episode of Dragon Ball, like this doesn't pertain to anything that I'm talking about, but like it's just kind of fun. It's just kind of enjoyable, and I'm not really like a Dragon Ball person either. It's just a fun show to just casually watch, and I guess that's how they get you.
I do have shows like that I like to just kind of turn on. Fairy Tail was a show like that because I've been through Fairy Tail already, also, so it's like easier.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of shonen in general, it's just very easy to turn on, and then you see like a bunch of cool characters doing cool things, and like
I just know as
it just looks
example,
right.
Sign of Affection episode 3. I just finished today over 3 different sittings over the past like 3-4 days. And it wasn't that I didn't like the episode or anything. I just kept getting distracted, or like something would come up, or I'd be like, "Oh, I should go make lunch," and go do that. Pause the episode, end up on random YouTube videos.
Yeah, I think
That's
it
also
does
part of
help
it.
to
Keeping
like
it on,
also sort of schedule it a little bit. Like usually when I wake up, I get breakfast, I turn on a YouTube video, and then it's like maybe straight to work on a video, or if like a friend is streaming, I'll tune into them for a little bit or a while. I was watching my friend Kexi streaming uh, just before this podcast, actually. Um, but there's little distractions like that. But if you just like put your mind to it, like let's just turn on an episode of this show, and maybe I'll watch one episode, 2 episodes, 5 episodes, the whole thing in one go. Like actually making videos also does a huge difference, I feel. Because like you
yeah,
have that ulterior motive where like, okay, I'm watching this show for a reason, whereas if you're not, then you know YouTube
it's just
Shorts,
kind of yeah.
TikTok, it's
I feel
right
like if I
there.
had to schedule something, I don't know. I would feel like I just not. I think. Oh, one thing I think that would make me like enjoy. I shouldn't say enjoy shows more, but like watching it on a bigger screen, uh, would help a lot. Like my monitor is like whatever 20 something inches. If I watched it on like a large TV, I feel like I would like enjoy
This is
like
true. I have found that turning it on like a TV or something like that makes it
yeah.
so much
I don't know.
easier for
It's like
me to
it's like a
not.
it's a psychological thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
No,
I think
yeah,
it's also
totally for sure.
I think it's also like I use the example of like getting Discord notification stuff, and that's mostly because a lot of things I'll watch on my phone. And so it's like directly there, right? The second I get a
Yeah.
Discord notification in the middle of of
You get
Affection
distracted. Yep.
episode 3, I'm like, oh, I need to click that.
Yeah.
Whereas if I had it on TV, I might not notice until later, and then I'm like, oh, let me check this out now that the
Yeah.
episode's finished.
There's a point where I was watching anime on my phone for like a while, like maybe 2 years ago or something, and I can't do it anymore. Not even because of the distractibility, but because like I don't know. I would just like watch it while I was like on the treadmill at the gym or something like that, and I just like it
You
just
can't
wasn't
read the
comfy. Like it's so hard.
subtitles.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think having it on the big screen does help because I've
Yeah.
definitely had multiple binges where like uh I like to sail the seas typically when I'm watching anime, but
Okay,
I
dude.
we do my family does have a Netflix, so I'm like if it's on Netflix, I'll take the official route.
Oh yeah.
I fucking hate their subtitles though. They're awful. Like
That is true.
Netflix does their subtitles where they'll have like a drop shadow to the text and it's like and it's not like a completely black drop shadow. It's just a very mild, like maybe you'd see it on a YouTube thumbnail type of text. And then it's like impossible to read at points because they don't just put the fucking outline around it like every other streaming service does. But I had this problem when I watched Mabaroshi not too long ago, where I had to fucking had it on my TV, and it's like my TV isn't like small by any means. Like it's maybe not like something people would like have in their living room, where it's like this big fucking humongous TV, but I should be able to read the subtitles. I'm 21 years of age. My eyes aren't dead yet, despite all the screen time I have. But um, I couldn't fucking read the subtitles. I'm like, okay, well, let me see what their options are, and I just had to put like a black border around the subs. Thank fuck that was
Oh,
even
that's horrible.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's because
That
like
is.
I can't fucking read it otherwise. I mean, it's like I can. Whenever there's something that's too light that happens, they're gone. They're vanished because they don't have the fucking outline around them.
So
And
what
like
I would recommend actually is we were talking about um physical media before. DVD and Blu-ray players are really good if they have like a USB port that you can just like, slide in, and then you have all of your anime on it and you can just watch it on your TV.
yeah, I mean,
I will say,
I can definitely put like, so I have an Xbox that I can just like go onto the internet on, and
There you go.
I've done it before. It's just like lightly more annoying to go onto questionable sites that have a lot of pop-up ads when I have to like slowly move
Oh
the
yeah.
cursor.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've
Um,
been there before. I've watched a lot of anime on like what PS4 like web browser, and
Yeah.
the most scuffed one of all. So I I bought a Wii U in like maybe 2014, 15 or something like that, and I would use that web browser, and it was such a piece of garbage.
Yeah.
But like that's how I watched probably 1,000 shows.
I'll mostly watch. I do watch a lot on mobile. I think my phone is kind enough to when I'm watching on. I think it depends on what the player is, but so far when I've been watching anime on my phone, notifications like they'll be on the top bar, but it won't notify me that they're there unless it's like a text message or something. And so I still get distracted after the episode, but I'll at least make it through the episode without getting be like, oh, must click Discord notification. And then I think watching on the monitor helps in a sense because I'll have it there. I have a second monitor, and so any Discord notifications that come up, I can quickly look at them and continue the episode. No, usually I save like the PC watching for like I save that for the good shows. Everything else gets watched on the phone. Like I'll watch my free run and Apothecary Diaries episodes on the monitor, but then when I'm watching like uh what's a shitty show this season? I don't know, like when I'm watching like Ragna Crimson or some shit, you know, that bitch is getting on the mobile. That's on the mobile phone.
Yeah, I think I remember like um a few of the shows that I like really liked. I watched on my TV back when I was staying with my parents a couple years ago. Back when like COVID was happening. Like Steins Gate, I remember I watched like 80% of it through like the Funimation app. Um, Code Geass, like the second season, I watched a ton of that on my TV. Darker Than Black, randomly, like I watched that on my TV. Like I don't know, there's something about it that just like makes it. I mean, for convenience sake, I obviously watch a lot of it on my. I mean, I don't have like a TV that's very large with me currently, but yeah, I don't know. There's something about it that just makes it like more enjoyable. It is. It is. They are cartoons after all. Were traditionally they were shown on TV, so there's something to it. So
It feels
But
more cinematic. It's like on
yeah,
the
yeah,
big screen, sort of.
yeah. My vision's also really bad, so that bigger screens kind of help. So
it is
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, having
It
multiple
is.
monitors is so bad for like Discord notifications and like
oh
stuff
yeah.
like that. It's so bad. But like it's so good for editing.
It is really good for editing, but I also get distracted from my editing a lot. Like earlier, I was just cutting through my audio, but like I see red dot appear for Discord. Like I have to get rid of the red dot. You know?
Yeah, if there was ever a double-edged sword, it would definitely be having multiple monitors.
Yeah.
I wish I had multiple monitors. I just don't have the desk space, and
That makes
Yeah,
sense.
I used to not have desk space. I'm like, you know what? I want a second
And then I
monitor.
just got a
I'm
bigger
I'm
desk.
upgrading this desk. I should have even more desk space, but like the desk I got, my PC is just too fucking built for this. Like I can't put it like where like on the picture it has like a PC sitting on like one of these little racks down to the side. My PC is too big for that. It can't fit in these. And so it just has I had to like remove like it's one of those desks with like the elevated section on it. And so I had to remove like a third of this elevated section, just place the PC on the desk. Um, but the other one is where my trusty second monitor sits. I kind of wish I got like a better second monitor, but you know this one can be like mid since it's just like the browsing one. But I forgot what I was gonna say. Then I remembered, and then I started talking about second monitor, and now I forgot again.
There you go. You got distracted just by the mention of the second one.
It's what happens.
classic.
Um, it was probably something about watching shows on the TV, but I don't remember.
Do you
Oh,
guys watch a lot of like older shows?
yeah,
Old.
I yeah, define old.
Well, old is subjective.
1940.
Exactly. No, but I
I
feel like
the
that
Steamboat
might
Willie.
honestly help with like saying anime watching discipline is so corny. But like a
Yeah.
lot of those shows are not as stimulating. I feel like if you got into watching more older anime, that could help like even improve your like watching experience with newer shows because you're not getting distracted as much because you're just like appreciating the art form. Because like when you go back and watch something from the 1960s that has like 2.5 frames of animation per episode, like you appreciate Jujutsu Kaisen a lot more. But then like a lot of those 60s shows can also be really good, and then a lot of them also like are really bad. But you know, you just got to take a swing at it.
Yeah. I guess like on that topic, I didn't stop it because I was unstimulated. I stopped it because I was not a fan of what was happening. I don't drop shows, so it's on pause right now. I'll get to it eventually.
Yeah, I don't draw stuff
but
either.
Canon from 2006 version. I'm 7 episodes into it. I was everything that happened. I'm just like I don't see. There's two versions of Canon. One's much shorter, and I'm like, surely I just need to watch the longer version, and I'm sure by the end it'll be all worth it. But I'm just like so unbelievably uninvested in what's occurring that like, it has nothing to do with like the visuals. I've watched Clannad. I don't give a fuck. I mean, granted, Clannad's visuals are really good, but that's a topic for another day. But
Older.
Canon's music is fine, animation's fine, visuals are fine, everything's fine. I just hate all the characters, and so I like feel no desire to continue it. It doesn't matter that it's old or anything. It's just
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. I'm like a psychopath that like, especially if it's for a video. I was watching Airmaster for this Precure video, and that show like sucks all kinds of dick. But I watched all of it because I was like mildly intrigued, mostly just for its placement in the script, which probably will only end up being like a couple minutes. So, you end up watching a 27 episode show and then you just talk about it for like 2 minutes. But that's the kind of person that I am. I can put up with just a lot of bullshit, I feel. It doesn't mean that I like the show a lot more. Like, obviously not. Cutie Honey is another example where I think that show is just friggin' terrible. Hate that show. But I watched all of it because it's like, historically significant, I guess. And there's some other shows like that too.
Yeah, you say you've watched like 10 billion thousand anime. Have you seen Gamers?
I have seen Gamers.
What's your opinion on
Let's-
Gamers? That's
all
what
right,
this
here
is
we
like
go.
a litmus
This is-
test.
Oh my god.
God, so I was watching that as it was airing, and
Oh, so was I.
when was that? 2017?
Yeah, 2017.
That sounds about right.
That's 7 years ago. That's horrible. I think I remember it like looking like complete shit, but like the characters were kind of funny,
This is
right?
This is an interesting.
we need more information on this.
Yeah.
That's it?
If you had to rate it out of 10, what would you rate Gamers?
What would I rate it?
Yeah.
I don't rate stuff. What would I
You
rate
don't
it?
rate stuff?
I don't know.
Great stuff. What do I have?
Well, I don't rate stuff
as?
anymore. I used to.
I have
but
Gamers
then, like,
rated as a 0.5
I think-
out of 10.
I was gonna say- I think I have it rated as a 1 out of 100. That's not fair. It should be a 2 out of 100 because my 1 out of 100 is Citrus, and Gamer
Damn.
is better than Citrus.
Yeah, it's funny like looking at the two AniList reviews for Gamers, like like it is like the duality of man. Like the misunderstandings are what make the anime interesting, and the other one is where idiots try their hand at love and we all suffer for it. I'm on the second one. It's just I fucking hate Gamers. It's
It
my
was
least
just too
favorite anime of
much
all
of
time.
misunderstandings and done in a way that was too frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't remember like hating it. If anything, like back then, I mean, I was like 16, 17 when I was watching that, born in 2000. So like obviously I'm in a way different mindset now. But even that, I feel like that like differentiates me from a lot of like romance anime fans because like they really hate the misunderstandings and like
Well,
just
I
get together, kiss
don't
already, stuff like
mind
that.
misunderstandings. It's the way Gamers employs misunderstandings. It makes me want to like jump off a cliff.
Sure. I mean, all of that is really just a case by case basis. I think High Score Girl is like the best use of like a love triangle in anything that I've ever seen. Like that show is absolutely just like top of the line. But then you see a lot of people just shitting on love triangles. Like this objectively can never be done, and I'm like, High School Girl is right there. Like, come on.
I don't mind Love Trial. That's also interesting because I've heard of High School Girl, but I never
I
knew
know
anything. So it's
Sammy's
never
watched
struck
it.
me as it's never struck me as a love triangle.
Oh no, it's so good. It's the kind of it's so interesting. I have never seen any other show in my life where it's like a love triangle and like I'm torn on which one I want to see win. Cuz like I want to see both of them win, but like that obviously can't happen and I don't want that to happen. So like it just really tears you apart.
Yeah, it's kind of like
But yeah, that show is incredible.
like Origairu kind of has that same thing. Like I very much so picked a side, but like I feel bad for the other one because I like them too.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
End of the day though, it's a sport. Love is war, like the show. I will pick a favorite and I will stand by that because I find a lot of fun with the
I think it's
romances and
fun to
picking
have
a
a
side.
side.
It's so much
Yeah.
more fun to have a side, and to
Yeah,
like
it's like fun to have a side. It's like social,
Yeah.
best girl, bus boy, like that kind of
Gives you
conversation.
something to root for.
yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like it kind of like sometimes it kind of misses the point of the show, especially when it gets to like, oh, just get together already. Like the point of a romance is to like actually get to that point where you get together, and in that process there's going to be misunderstandings, there's going to be all sorts of things that happen. So I guess like going through that stuff myself, I can forgive it in a lot more, or forgive it in comparison to a lot of people, like that those kinds of elements in shows, because like I'm drawn to like how the characters actually grow up with each other. So like Ori Monogatari, I really like. I like how it's a take on like positive masculinity. Like Ore meaning it's like a masculine version of saying I believe. So like my love story. Um, but like the English title kind of omits the original meaning from the Japanese title. But that's something I really liked about that show. Like the romance is really cute too, but that's like what really ended up sticking with me. It's just seeing Takio um, growing up as a person
Mm.
through his other friends and really reaching Yamato at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's kind of like right now Tomozaki season 2 is airing, and a lot of I mean it's less about the romance in that show and more about how Tomozaki grows as a person. But we are there's like two factions among our friend group, and by factions I mean I like Fuka and one other person does too, and then everyone else likes me. Um, and that's we're about to enter like I'm just gonna call
Which,
this like the war arc between these
which was
two
the one
groups.
that I like?
Do you like the blue hair one?
No,
Do you?
it was
Oh,
the red-haired one, I think.
is well, she don't have red hair, but Izumi probably the one with like the mole under her lip.
Yes.
You know what's really funny? Like there is no difference between like that and power scaling.
That is true. This is
It is
this is a
just the
funny.
same thing.
I was
Like
gonna say this is a
shipping too.
funny but definitively true comment.
That's
Picking a side in
actually hello.
romance is just power scaling. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So wait, Daniel, am I the odd one out? Am I the only only fan of this one?
I mean, you're probably the only one who has her as like a favorite among all of us.
To be fair, I see 5 girls on this promo art, and I don't know if I've met 3 of them.
You
So
have met if you're looking at season 2, you've met all of them.
I have not finished season 1.
Oh, I still. How far are you into season 1?
3 episodes.
Okay, maybe you haven't met all of Yeah, you definitely haven't met all of them.
I feel like I have.
You would have met. Well, I feel like you would have met 4 of them by now.
I might be a little farther than that. Whenever I go back to it, I'm probably gonna start from season 1 anyway.
Yeah.
Why do I have it marked as completed? I definitely did not do that. Anyway,
Yeah, I don't
it's
think you
fine.
would have met Fuka, which is the one I like, the one with the white hair, but you would have met the other 3. Maybe
Because
not like in depth, but you would have
yeah,
met them.
you mentioned Izumi. She looks like a character I would like, but I don't remember her.
Yeah, she's your favorite. You don't remember?
No, I think the one that was my favorite was Hinami.
Oh, okay. Well, I
If
said the
I'm
mole under
if
the lake,
I'm
but you,
if
you
I'm
answered so
matching,
confidently yes that I would not have expected to backtrack on that.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
Just wait until the end of season 1, then you can pick your side,
I
and then you
said
can.
the red-haired character.
Well,
I watched the
there's
anime.
no
That's
fucking
all.
redhead character.
Hold on.
Well, there
Hold
is in
on.
season 2, but you don't meet her in season 1 because they cut her out for a little bit.
This
So you guys mentioned not having seen like a lot of magical girl anime. Would
Yeah.
you guys say that you've seen more like shoujo anime or more like romance anime in general?
I've watched a lot of romance.
Do you have a favorite?
Shoujo's favorite romance. Okay, I guess this is
I
where we get
think
into like the technicality world.
Oh, okay.
So I don't think I love Clannad, right? And it's after story definitely has like romance in it, but I don't think it like functions like as a romance. So I wouldn't say it's a
Right.
romance. I think my favorite romance is probably Tsukigakure.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think it's just like the most accurate representation of an awkward romance, where it's not like the typical anime, like they're like stuttering every 5 seconds trying to get like one word out when they're embarrassed.
Komi-san.
Yeah, it's not like that where it's so grounded, and it's like when it's awkward they just don't fucking say anything. They don't know what to do because they're dumb middle schoolers. They don't know anything about love, and so you just have these two goobers who have absolutely no experience romance wise. um Maybe it's like a little melodramatic at the end, but I think the aesthetic, I really like the art style in it. The background's like the painted style. The CGI is like the worst CGI I've ever seen in anime. Holy shit! I don't. They should
Oh
have
yeah.
literally left all the backgrounds empty, to be completely honest. But I think the actual like written content within it was really really good.
so. In terms of actual romances with progression, I really liked Yamada 999 recently.
That's one I need to watch. I got a magazine clipping of an interview with that recently, actually. That's also Morio Asuka, the same guy who directed Cardcaptor Sakura.
Ah, that's good to know.
And
Yeah,
now
he's great.
now PK's gonna
I
watch one episode of
honestly,
Cardcaptor and never
it's
continue.
already on my plan. I did it when you weren't looking.
I saw it
There's
on your plan. I just didn't
a
mention it.
Yeah, if you guys have seen Chobits too, that's also him.
Yeah, I think
this one's a
I
little
was
bit
gonna
I've
start
less.
heard of
reading
that
it, but
show, but
then
I
I
haven't
didn't.
seen it.
It's
This
great.
one's a little bit less romance focused in the anime, but Majirevo, the Yuri fantasy anime from this past year, I really enjoyed that, and
Hmm.
I'd have to really look through my list. Problem is, I don't watch a lot of like romance like progression type stuff. I watch a lot more of like the like monthly Girls Nozaki-kun, where it's not
That's a good one too.
romance, but exactly right. It's like I don't feel comfortable calling it a romance, but at the same time, like
I mean, it kind of
there's
is.
romance happening, kind of. I watch a lot of like that type of stuff by comparison.
I think,
It's been
yeah, I would say like my favorite. I mean, I guess it's like again with the genre thing. It's like a drama slash romance. Is Nagi no Asukara. The English name is like Lull in the Sea.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think I'm the only one of the three of us who's seen it. But yeah, it's like they're underwater. The art is like super cool. The
Yeah,
music is
it's beautiful.
yeah, it is. It
Definitely the
does look
best
really
part of
nice.
it.
It's really, there's like drama elements in that as well, obviously. But yeah, I think there's even multiple like there's like a love pentagon or something.
We
But
have the
yeah, I
chart somewhere in our
what's that?
we have the like the love chart somewhere in
Yeah,
our
we
Yeah,
have
I
it.
think
We
podcast.
have
yeah, I
it.
think I posted that once a while back. But yeah, it's cool. I mean, the romance is like it's of course a big part of the show, but like um I think for me the appeal of it is not necessarily the romance itself. It's everything else that went into the anime. But yeah, that would be my favorite that would fall under that category. I I'm also like Daniel mentioned that like a lot of anime have like the stereotypical like characters stuttering because they can't like confess to their crush or whatever. I'm like really sensitive to that kind of stuff. I don't really like watching it. So I'm like, I'm not
That's fair enough.
super into romance, but like, of course, if it's well integrated into a show, like it can enhance a show for sure. So I'm not,
I
not
think that's my other
averse
thing
to it.
is I really like when romance is happening,
Yeah,
but
that's a good way to put it.
there's other stuff happening too.
Yeah.
So like getting an anime this year, Blue Box, I frequently read. And that's kind of a series where it is a romance and there's romantic progression and all that, but there's also other things going on that interest me as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What would you
Another thing
guys like? What kind of genres do you generally tend to watch, or do you just watch everything?
I
I
have
like dramas,
no
basically.
typical preference. I have because I've only seen Madoka as like Magical Girl, but I have nothing against Magical Girl. I just so happen to have not watched any except for generally recently Madoka.
Mhm.
watch Demon Girl Next Door next, just because it's cute.
Yeah,
It's also not super magic girly, but there is a magical girl in it.
yeah. I mean, I typically enjoy those type of shows, so eventually I will. Um, yeah, I don't have any typical preference. I tend to look at seasonals and kind of like what you were talking about earlier, where I'm like, I like that key visual.
Kind of window
Let's just
shopping.
see if I wouldn't blow my brains out like watching this through the description. Like, look at the description. What would I want to die watching this? And if the answer is no, probably, then I'll give it a shot. And by a shot, I mean I don't drop shows, so I'll watch the whole thing. But um, sometimes it does lead to good shows. Like this season, I really like the key visual for Weakest Tamer, and typically, I see generally long title isekai. It's probably gonna be low budget, but I'm like, that's a cool key visual. I'll give it a shot. The season's pretty dry in my opinion, and so I watched it and I really like it. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, I mean, yeah, anything that can just like you don't even have to like entrance me. It just needs to be like good enough. Did it activate a neuron or two? And I might watch it.
I'd say I'm about the same. The difference is I do specifically gravitate towards a lot of music series and a lot of sports series.
Mm.
But I don't say those to be like those are my wheelhouse per se. It's just those are interests I have um in my like real life. I have performed music almost my entire life and I've played sports and love sports
Yeah,
for
I
almost
mean,
my entire
sports
life.
especially, like that's basically just shonen. Like it's
Yeah,
just
exactly.
taking a lot of those aspects, but it's putting it into basketball or soccer, whatever it is. Um, do you have any like favorite sports or like music based shows?
For sports, obviously Haikyuu is phenomenal, right? Awashi recently got an anime and it's a soccer slash
Mm.
football manga. It's probably I think by the time it's finished, I might have it ranked personally higher than Haikyuu, but at the moment, Haikyuu I finished and Awashi's going on. But I'd say those two for me are really high music based. I'm really into the Bandori seasons series, and couple seasons ago, Bandori released a new series that was It's My Go, centered around its one of its new bands. And it was just a really like nice, fresh feeling musical series.
Do
That
you like
was
idol shows at all?
yes,
He's a big idol guy.
I do be watching all the idols.
Have you seen Prepara and Aikatsu?
I Aikatsu in my friend group is a bit of a meme. Not that most
Really?
of us know anything about it. There was this one specific person who one day just started watching. This is back when I played AMQ a lot too, and started watching like all of the Aikatsus, and so they started showing up in all of our AMQs. So it kind of just accidentally became a meme. I have not watched either of them personally, but I know of the series.
Yeah, they're
Well,
both phenomenal. Prepara especially.
good. How is the music? Because that's
I actually really like the music in Prepara. That and Daikatsu. I like it a lot
That's-
more. Like my problem with a lot of idol shows is that a lot of the music just sounds exactly the same. Like you watch Love Live and you're
yes.
like,
all the Love Live
this song
shows sound the
sounds
same.
really familiar.
Me when all the songs are ass for like 99% of the series, but then they really need to beat their rival, and so then they bring out the banger. And
Yeah.
then me when Snow
But it's-
Halation finally came on.
But
Exactly.
it's like, for example, for me, I think the quality of music matters a ton. Obviously, Bocchi the Rock has become this cult phenom at this point. But what like really got me into the series was the fact that I just loved listening to the songs that they produced for them. And I think in my Spotify Wrapped, they were my number one band of the last year.
Cool.
Um,
I want to say
but
that might have been
it's
mine. I can't remember.
stuff like
Mine was
I think
Powerful, I think.
I think the music, the quality of music for me is what really makes or breaks the shows. It was also, you mentioned the Love Lives. And what was interesting is there was the Yohane spin-off from Love Live Sunshine had such different music compared to so much of the rest of the Love Live series. And I think it actually made me like the show more than I thought I was, because it was just kind of a goofy spin-off. They're like, we're gonna throw all these characters into a fantasy world, and they're gonna have like lightly similar personalities to their show. But the music was just so phenomenal in the show that it just enhanced the experience so much for me.
Yeah, it's important to have a lot of different genres as well.
Yep.
One thing that I really like about Aikatsu is that my favorite character is Eureka, and she's like like a wannabe like vampire kind of goth character. So her song is like very like influenced by that sort of imagery.
Oh, she has a fang. Nice.
Yeah, she's awesome. I love her. All the characters are incredible in Aikatsu and Prepara.
I think the
Cannot
other
praise them
reason
enough.
that I look at the Aikatsus, I don't remember if Freeparo was one of these two. Um, there's a lot of Aikatsu. Um, I don't know how, in terms of like runtime, how much content that actually is, but it's like that's one of those series that I see Aikatsu, and it's like 5, 6 different names of various shows, and then it's like, is this really another rabbit hole I want to get into? Even I look it up now.
Yeah, I feel
Aikatsu,
that for sure. I mean, that's like
Aikatsu.
me anytime I look at like Fate or
Yeah,
what are some other
exactly.
shows like that?
I'm already in so many of these rabbit holes. Fate, Bandori, Love Live, all of these. I look at like an Aikatsu and I'm like, I might like it, and maybe one day I'll try it, but I have so many rabbit holes I'm already in. It's like,
Yeah,
do I do another one?
approximately 91 rabbit holes.
Well,
Basically a rabbit at this point.
it's now 90. I marked Journeys as completed finally, because let's be honest, I watched all the important
God,
stuff.
I would
I watched
never,
90. I watched
you'll never
91
escape
episodes of
this.
Journeys. Okay, and also the finale, last couple episodes. Who cares about the middle stuff?
I mean, I guess it's, I don't know if I even call it the middle. 91 of like 130, close enough, I guess.
Exactly.
Um, yeah, I
But anyway,
mean,
that's good to know, because I have heard things about Aikatsu, but I've never heard anything about the music, and so that's something that makes me a lot more interested.
Yeah, the music's good. And like ideally, especially with like, idols, magical girls, mecha, stuff like that, it's all about the media mix. So like getting into any of these rabbit holes, it's not just, oh, there's so many seasons of Prepar. There's also like the albums and they
Yeah,
probably make
exactly.
video games and stuff like that. And like, yeah, maybe the video games suck, but you watch the show and you get really attached to the characters and like you want more of them. So, maybe you buy a shitty Switch game and like maybe it sucks, but like, you see Lala and she's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Like maybe this game isn't so bad after all.
I've been sucked into so many random mobile games. I the mobile game for Idly Pride launched about a year or two ago, and I played that for almost a year. And we won't talk about how much money was spent on that game.
Oh god,
It was fun.
I'm so glad I never got into gacha. I'm just
Hey, you know what?
It
This
was
podcast would
fun.
not exist without gacha games.
That is true.
Princess
Well,
Connect
kinda.
built the Gochuucast.
Kinda. I mean, yeah, we
I would
we
say
like
so.
weren't close
Yeah,
before
we
then,
like knew of each
but
other's
we knew each
existences.
other. Yeah.
But like until we were both within like the same pre-con, general thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
it took
that is true.
Fees Bees had to die so that the Gochuucast could live.
These bees had to die because I became a sweaty tryhard and they got recruited by the top clan.
Yes, and then I got you to.
And then you
I
were
would.
like, "Hey, I kind of want to go somewhere decent."
There's a
You wanna-
0% chance I fumbled the interview really hard to get it. I fucking interview, God, so
I
corny.
100%. They've talked to me about this before. 100%, you only got in because
Yeah, I was a nepotism baby for sure.
Nepo
They-
baby.
100%. They were like, we kind of need someone, and PK is vouching for him. So sure, let's run it.
Yeah, you know what? It worked out. It worked out.
Wait, one question.
Yui Bats got
Oh.
top 10. No, go for it.
No, for Hayden, because we were talking about like our favorite genres and stuff.
Yeah.
I think I'm definitely the only one who's seen this one. Have you seen Link Click by any chance?
I have not, but I
Here we
know of
go.
it. Isn't that like a
Okay.
big like BL thing?
Damn.
Probably.
One day
No,
that someone's gonna have watched it who comes on as a guest.
I know it's a Chinese show, Donghua, I guess, not anime. But no, I was saying that because like I think I mentioned that like my favorite genre is like drama, but like I really like shows that like at the end of every episode they like keep you going. You know what I mean? Like there's like some maybe not cliffhanger, but like some sort of like high stakes at the end of the episode that makes you want to see the next one.
No,
So that's like one of the shows.
Have you seen
shows I
Kaiji?
like. No, but I heard that like that one was like it's like all about that. I've heard
had
of it.
this
It's like
recommended to me.
Yeah.
before.
Once you start that show, you're not stopping.
okay.
It's painful.
Yeah.
If you guys have problem with like attention span or anything like that, just watch Kaiji. It'll solve it.
I hate how the characters look, but I mean, I have to try it. I know I've heard this one. This has been recommended to me like
They're pretty
6,
goofy.
7 times.
Shapes actually has a really good video about the character designs that I would suggest looking into if you're curious about that. But yeah, they work within the confines of the show.
Sure. Yeah, I've heard about this one. But yeah, that's like those are the kind of shows I like. It's less about the attention span, more like I kind of want like there to be like high stakes. I guess I can't think of a better way to describe it, but yeah, I think a lot of the shows I like I don't know, somebody's dying or something. You know, you gotta save them.
iPad baby.
No, I kind of feel that way with manga. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be high stakes, but like, I feel like a lot of manga that I read, like, I don't feel a huge, like, motivation to really like sink my teeth into it unless I have to, like, for a video. But then, like, the original Yu-Gi-Oh manga, when I was reading that, like, I could not put that down. I had to keep going.
Yeah, I feel like with manga, I guess it depends. I love fluff romance. I do not need stakes at all. I just need to be happy. I guess I'm not happy particularly. I guess.
You need to feel something.
I need to feel either need to be really happy or I just need to be invested in what's happening. If I'm invested in my happiness, then that's good enough for me. I have like, well, okay, I'll have, I'd say 3 or, I guess it depends on what you fully classify as like a fluff romance. Like Tony Kaku's Tony Kaku Kawaii is pretty close. There is like actual story elements and drama to that, but it is mostly fluff. Sign of Affection is I mean there's drama in there.
I was gonna say it
like,
feels fluff. I've only seen 3
it's like
episodes.
closer
Yeah, me
to
too.
fluff than it is drama. Kubo-san is 100% fluff.
Have you seen Ori Monogatari?
I have not seen Ori Monogatari.
That's a good one for that. It's incredibly adorable.
Where even are you in the Monogatari's?
Oh, like the Monogat. Okay, so
it's not a part of that
different
Monogatari.
Is it not?
Very different
Oh.
Monogatari.
Listen,
As for
I
how
don't
far
know
I am in the Monogatari's, I told myself So this is Daniel Lore. Uh, it was back in 2021 now, I believe. I started a list. I was going to alternate between watching one season of Monogatari and one season of Love Live, or like different idol shows to like just go down this gigantic like rabbit hole. Since then, I have watched Bakemonogatari, the three Kizu Monogatari movies, and that was it for Monogatari. I'll continue eventually. I do like Monogatari. I just haven't. I'm just awful at committing to watching it. And then for Love Live, I've watched all of the original School Idol Project, one season of Sunshine, and I've watched one episode of Sunshine season 2. And I'll get back to that eventually. Probably I want to catch up all my seasonals, which like I can probably knock out some of them tonight. But then there's like the daunting tower of the fact that I'm 24 episodes behind on the new Pokemon Horizons.
And you need to watch it because it's
Oh
good.
yeah,
Yeah,
I was starting that a while ago. I think I made it like 5 episodes in, and then
I
I think I went on
champion-
vacation.
I champion this series, the new Pokemon series. Gas.
I want to make a video on it, like, and I'm gonna clickbait the fuck out of it. And be like, Pokemon is better without Ash, and it's gonna be great.
Yeah.
Ooh,
That's a good title. I like that.
hell yeah.
But I gotta catch up to it first. So that's just down the pipe. I always have like things down the pipeline that I never actually get to. But I hope to like actually. I just have like thumbnails upon thumbnails of ideas that I'm actually never going to follow through on.
Oh god.
but
Yeah, I used to
want
have that same problem. Honestly, like I commission all of my thumbnails now. That is a great way to like keep yourself really
So I can't
like
waste
on
the
a
money.
project. Yeah.
Like I mean, just looking, I have where's the one where I'm like, I wanted to talk about the word, like how people call shows boring. That will probably exist in a different form than when I first came up with it. Among videos that will never ever be created or be seen, the Rest in Peace Spellblades video. The show fell off. Rest in peace the ReZero super analysis. I don't want to do that. it's too long. I started it, and I think within like 10 minutes of the first episode, I'm like, okay. I mean, this was like way back when, so my scripts weren't as long, but it was like 10 minutes into one episode, and I was gonna be doing it by halves. Like, this is gonna be like hours of content. I'm not good enough to do that. I was gonna do like a revisited anime where like I go back 5 years and talk about things like, things that came out like 5 years ago and where are they now, that type of thing, which I might still do one day. I think it's like an interesting concept, but it's a lot of work. Elena video, vending machine isekai, Someway in the Forest Spirit, just so many videos that are never gonna see the light of day, but I have thumbnails for.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I definitely feel the exact same way. And like part of that is also like I'm turning 24 this year, and like realistically, how long am I going to be able to keep this up? I mean, I
Forever.
wouldn't like to make videos for as long as I can, but there's going to be the come a point where I
Yeah.
can't really commit everything that I want to, and just either have to scale back like a ton or just like quit entirely. I think right now I'm trying to scale back a little bit. I say that as I like put a week into just editing the intro to this video while my arms are like on the verge of falling off.
Yeah, don't hurt yourself.
Yeah. That I keep saying like that won't be every single video, but then that becomes every single video and I make 2 videos in a year. It's a bad habit for sure. And like part of that I guess is insecurity. Just like, is what I'm saying like worthy of being listened to? But then like you put out a video and like half the
People
time
listen
it's
to
just
it.
people being like, "Oh, I love this show. I remember watching it when I was a kid," or I don't know, people just saying good vid, and then you have like the occasional like really great comment that's super, evocative and like encouraging, and those are really the ones that like you want to look out for motivation,
Yeah,
essentially.
like recently I got a comment on my medalist video It's the only manga video I've ever done. The only one I ever will do, because that shit was awful to make. But
Oh yeah.
they're like, oh my god, thank you for promoting this. Such a great series. More people need to, go to get into it. Because I mentioned in the video, I'm like, this is never gonna get fucking an English print. And then like a month later, I get an English print. But they were mentioning
Hell
to
yeah.
me that like, it got a print. I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm gonna have that shit on the shelf immediately. Um,
Do
those
you have any
comments
like resolutions for stuff that you want to do with the videos?
more me actually upload. That'd be a great start. So
Yeah.
right now I actually have the fucking DaVinci Resolve open, and I have all the audio split. So it's about just getting everything in line for my top anime of 2023 video, and that'll go out. And then the the fucking Madoka script. Like every time I look at it, I'm like, what the fuck was I what am I talking about? This is like the work of 3 a.m. Daniel. Anytime I open to read it and like see where I left off, and so it gets really daunting to go back to that.
Yeah, that's where I'm at when I get to, get to like the editing phase.
Yeah, it's gonna be a daunting video to make, but like if the director's vision comes through on this Madoka video, it's gonna be like my magnum opus is what I'm hoping. But I'll have other things in between that. Like I think after my anime of the year one, I want to make one on Weakest Tamer because I think it's very not particularly popular, but I would like to talk about it, and then I want to get to it before other people do. So I can't let
Yeah.
someone else, steal the Weakest Tamer clout that what little there could be.
I feel that too.
Yeah,
I want to
which
be the first person to make a video on so many different shows. And I know that I can be that person, or at least the first person to actually make like a real video. Because like the thing about like shojo and magical girl anime is that like a lot of these shows are really popular, but like no one really like actually tries to talk about them.
yeah,
And if you do, like there's a lot of these shows like well you guys definitely know or on High School Host Club, I'm sure.
Yeah,
yeah, I haven't watched it, but I
Yeah,
know of it.
yeah, it was super popular back in the day. I feel like
it's like you're not allowed to talk about Oron anymore without mentioning that they say like the T slur in the dub. Like you have to bring that up for some reason. And if you don't, like the comment section will. And like it just feels so reductive to me. Like it's kind of what the Fruits Basket video is about. It's about how um like there's all of these like controversies and stuff like that, and whether it happened or didn't happen, like we don't really have a lot of proof of that, or it's very shaky. But at the end of the day, like what am I gonna do? I'm sitting on my ass in my room like surrounded by anime figures. Like I only have so much power. Like I'm not gonna be able to reach Japanese directors and like manga authors with what I'm saying, and they probably shouldn't be listening to what I'm saying because they went through what they went through. They know a lot more about the nitty-gritty details than I do. I just have whatever's publicly available.
Yeah, but yeah, it is nice like thinking I could be the first. I mean, I don't have to be the first. There are times where like when I was a lot smaller even, I'd be like, all right, no one big has made a video on this anime. This has a chance. And then I'm like writing the script, and then I see my like on the home feed, a big YouTuber makes a video about an anime I was gonna write about. I'm like, fuck, damn it, dude. But like Don
Yeah,
Machi, for
then you just got to
example,
switch your mindset to being the first, like from that to being the best.
yeah, like that's definitely my approach with the Madoka video, because like I know there are other fucking Madoka video essays out there like that with there are millions upon millions of views on
Oh
these
yeah.
to video essays, but mine is that's actually what someone told me, because I had mentioned to someone like I just need to make this video like not shit, and then it will probably perform, and they're like, it's not about that, you got to be the best fucking video, or yeah, you need to be in with the mindset of like you're gonna make this the best fucking one on the platform. I'm like, you know what, I will make the best one on the platform, and here I am like knee
Hell
deep
yeah.
in like the stupidest fucking video I've ever made, but it is like it's compelling to me at the very least, so it definitely has like potential there. Um,
Mm.
yeah, like
It helps too that it's within a well, I guess Monica is pretty big, but I
yeah,
don't know. All the videos that I've seen of that show, like with Mumi and like other people who are really into Monica, they don't seem all that great. Some are okay, but it's not a very high batting average, and I kind of feel the same way with Shoujo. I mean, a lot of it is really just people giving like pretty straight reviews, which are good for their own good, and that should exist.
yeah,
But like, I like Stevem a lot. Obviously, my style is very influenced by Stevem. He was always there for me, um, like very early on when I didn't have a lot of people critiquing me. He's always been really helpful, and he makes great videos too. That I've borrowed elements from, probably stole some elements from, if I'm being real. Um, but like, I'm taking his format, or taking parts of his format, injecting like my own sensibilities of what I like, and then applying that into a field that doesn't really have that higher level of like um analytical type video, or at least for the most part. Like, there's some of it, but not a whole lot, I feel, unless there's just a lot of people that I'm not like aware of. But I feel like I've seen like a fair bit.
yeah. I think one of the mindsets I've been trying to adopt somewhat recently was like, it's kind of how storytelling works in a way. Like these days, there's no like unique story to tell, but um, you can take elements to make it feel more fresh than what it actually is. Like with my 100 girlfriends video, at first I was gonna, it's gonna be like every other review of it probably, where I'm, it's so zany, but then episode 3 came out, and it was like a really emotional episode. Like, what if I talked about like this part of it instead? And that would make for probably a more interesting video. And that one performed, pretty well, like comparative to everything else. Like, it's not like my top video, but 22,000 views for a 4,000 sub channel, it's not
Yeah.
bad.
That's pretty good.
Um,
It's
and
good.
yeah, and so I've definitely thought more like, okay, how, and that's kind of with like the Monica video. What's my spin on this? What story will I tell through this video? And not that every video needs to be that. Like, my Don Machi video is my top viewed video, and that's just because I so happen to be the only one to make like a. I mean, I looked a little bit after I posted it. It didn't seem like there were really too many, video essays on Don Machi, and mine so happened to be the one that caught fire, thankfully. Um, and so I guess part of it is, if it's a market that's already tapped into, make my spin. If it's not, then I get to make whatever the fuck I want and just hope for the best. But um, yeah, YouTube is. I mean, it's one of those things you can talk about forever, about how different ways to like try and game the system, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. I feel pretty confident about my own position. Like, I say that there's not really too much else of what I'm doing in my in this space, but like, that's not really an issue for me. Like, maybe like the more looking into the staff stuff like that. Like, I get the feeling that women are generally not as interested in that kind of stuff. They want to hear more about the actual story behind these shows or whatever, which makes a lot of sense for me. Like, getting into staff and stuff like that might just be be a bit too nerdy for a lot of people. But then you have like those really like you know super invested into Precure. Those people are going to love this video, I think.
Yeah, it is definitely a
Um,
lot about knowing the audience that you're going for.
Yeah, and like subverting those expectations too, like what you said about the 100 Girlfriends video, how like, oh, it's a silly show, but then like episode 3 was actually like, some deep cut shit, and like people might not know that.
Yeah, and it is like, because anime is such a weird one, because like the market is at the same. It's not like it's oversaturated, but there's also like, comparative to other things, there's technically not a lot of it. And so there's room to break in, but there's not a lot of room to stand out as easily. Like you can like dig yourself into the niche a bit, but then it's breaking beyond that can be a bit difficult, I guess. Um, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it
I feel
can be
like in a
made.
lot of just points in my life in general, I've kind of looked at everything like going on around me, and I'm like, what if I just did the complete opposite? I feel like that's really worth considering in a lot of cases, because doing something that's completely opposite is like
Being on the
very,
left sock before the right sock. Yeah, I got you.
yeah, like it's not what anyone is going to necessarily expect. So like I am pretty different from a lot of the people in my space, but I also like the fact that I'm different. I like the fact that I stand out, and I like the fact that other people are making the kinds of videos that, they want to make. And I like watching a lot of those videos. I would probably feel a little too self-conscious to like put out a vlog or something on my channel, but like I watch a lot of vlogs. It's like one of my favorite like genres of videos. Or like Uh, I guess to shout out some other YouTubers or like shojo related content creators in this space, like Glitter M, Pixie Locks, Basic Boy, Colleen's, Manga Rex, who else? Anime T. I mean, all of those people, they aren't making the kinds of videos that I would make. Um, but that's a good thing.
It's
Yeah,
variety.
I
Yeah.
like that that kind of stuff is out there and it exists. Makes that makes it so if you like the deep cut like staff analysis or whatever, you can come to me. If you want to watch a video that is actually fun and talking about the show you like more generally, then you can go to like Basic Boy or somebody like that, which is probably what most people want. I remember when I dropped my Fruits Basket video, I would get a lot of comments of people like mainly just talking about the show or wishing that I talked about the reboot. And then literally that same day, Ina Q put out a Fruits Basket video where she talks about the reboot, and it's more of a general like review, like retrospective type thing. Like,
yeah,
like, like the people who watched my video wanted to watch Ina Q's video, which I found really funny.
yeah. Something interesting, uh, of like commentary with my channel is I was lucky enough to be a part of Lex Stories' like big 100 YouTubers thing, and what he mentioned with my channel is like something that I had felt like somewhat self-conscious about, but he mentioned it in like a positive light where my editing is not not like top of the line. I am like I will get you through I will get like a I will get you a neuron activated throughout the video probably. But
Single
it's not
neuron.
like yeah, like I'll activate a neuron to like get someone through like the video to the point where it could like blow up or something. But it's also like I've seen the intro that you spent a week on that you said, and that's not like that's probably more effort editing than I've spent on most anything. If I don't count the fucking free run fiasco, which was like entirely
Yeah.
different thing. Like that's not even like editing difficulty. That's like that was just hitting shit against the wall until the YouTube copyright god let me through. Um, but it is something that like I've kept in mind since he made that video. Like maybe I don't go too far beyond this, but I would like to improve. Um, just like the general things. I don't need it to be super flashy, but it could be better for sure, regardless, even if it is like a charm, I suppose, as opposed to like Mr. Beast
For sure.
level editing.
I mean, I feel like what most people really resonate with more is the like aesthetic idea of a video more so than the video itself. So you see this with a lot of let's go back to like vloggers. Like it'll be the one camera angle like on a couch with maybe some cool lighting, and that'll be the whole video. Which like I'm not super into like that kind of presentation myself, but I understand why it's so popular because it's efficient. You get through making the video, you put it out there. while you're still like enthusiastic about the topic, so you don't, spend half a year or whatever on a video and then like you don't give a shit like halfway through, and then you put it out and you're like, whatever, let's go to bed.
It depends on styles sometimes too, because sometimes too much editing can be distracting.
Oh yeah, the number one thing I hate is like jump cuts or whatever. Like I guess they're called jump cuts, where like someone will be talking for like let's say a real time, like 2 minutes, let's say in real time, but then they cut like each pause. I hate that. So it's like they compress the 2 minutes into 1 minute by like cutting, having a cut like each pause, but like each like pauses are natural, right? Like when you
Yeah.
talk and they contribute to, I don't know, talking sounding natural, right? Like
Yeah, it
that kind of
depends
Like a
overedging.
on
Yeah.
because like with my videos, I can't
Yeah.
keep those like mine.
No, no, no.
I have to
Yeah,
cut
yeah. I
out.
mean,
Not that,
situational.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like scripted, so I don't have ums anymore. Like when I used
Yeah.
to have those types of videos where I was off script, but I have to cut out my like obviously the breathing, like it doesn't need to be there in a video essay type of thing. So,
Oh
but
yeah, yeah.
I understand like if you're watching like
Yeah, sometimes yeah, it just sounds very unnatural, and to me, it like I don't know. That's just a personal thing. It just distracts from like
yeah, like
yeah.
there was a video, I think it was on the Anime Man's second channel. I think it's just called Joey, but I don't remember what the topic was, but I was interested in it even though I don't usually watch his videos. So I clicked on it and like the editing was like it was so like like not even it was like frame perfect to a fault to where like it felt so
Unnatural.
unnatural, like
Yeah.
cutting from one sentence to another, where I'm like, this is just too much. Like, at least give yourself like a few. Like, I will always give myself like a few frames of like a flow room. So like, it doesn't feel like I'm cutting from the very end of one word and just blending it into the start of another.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if like people just turn on closed captions and like, kind of sort of listen to the video, or like mute it and they're watching it on their phone and they're just like reading the, captions. Cuz I feel like that's what a lot of like younger people nowadays tend to do. I remember
I
a while
love
ago,
turning closed captions
when
on.
like Oppenheimer came out, people would complain about the sound design in like Christopher Nolan movies, and like that they had to use subtitles.
Yeah, I didn't see Oppenheimer. I don't. I think I saw the complaint, but I think a lot of people were like, "Oh my god, 3 hour movie, boring." We didn't get to see big nuke explosion and miss like the entire point of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hate to cut us off. However, congratulations, you are now the record holder for longest Gochuucast episode since we lost
There
the
you
other
go.
episode.
Thank
True.
you.
Yes. And we might, who knows, by the time this outro is done, you might surpass what the other episode was meant to be. We're only like a minute off from doing that, so you probably will. But
Might as well.
yeah, thank you for coming on.
Yep.
I mean, we don't have guests too particularly often. Now that my connections have grown, thankfully, through the grace of lucking into certain conversations. We actually have a list, which is, you know, it is so interesting to not have to. I had to fucking email our last who was our last guest content creator wise? Was it Ed? No, or we had Brandon. We had
Wasn't it?
Brandon.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wasn't it Brandon?
Before
Brandon.
Brandon, was it Ed? I want to say
Yeah.
yes.
Ed
Yes.
was
Yes.
before.
Yeah, I had to email him, and so now that I can like actually just DM people, like, hey, you want to be on?
Yeah.
It makes it so much easier. So thank you for coming on, and being part of
You're welcome.
the
It's been fun.
yes. Yes, if you want to shout out any social medias you have, obviously your YouTube, but anything else you want to add in there as well.
I guess I've been using like TikTok more recently. Been putting out a couple videos on there. I have a Patreon. That's
Are these
probably
all
about it.
under? These all under the same Hayden the Historian? Is that what
You,
it
you
was?
should be able to find all of the main things like on my
Yeah.
channel. So you just click on the
On the
description and
YouTube.
you get everything.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
We
yeah.
will have their channel in the description, and then yeah, I hate the way that YouTube changed those links as well. Like they used to just be in the like the channel banner, and then they move them like to below.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I just
Like I'm usually pretty positive on most YouTube changes, but that's one where I'm like, bruh, you're not
Yeah.
cooking with this.
Yeah, I just at that point I'm like, fuck it, whatever. I'm just gonna make a link tree and it'll be the one link under there. But yeah. Anyway, if you enjoyed this episode of the Gochuucast, like, subscribe, comment, whatever, 5 stars, whatever platform you're on. If you're on the YouTube side of things and like go to the audio side of things, any relevant podcasting platform is the Order an Anime podcast. Actually, hold on, very important. Have you seen Gochuucast?
I have.
Okay, how much of it?
I watched the first season as it was airing.
Okay,
Nice.
you're more qualified to be here than Spad is. So
Let's go.
Let's go.
Watch the first 3 episodes.
anyway, if you are on the audio or where I was in the middle of the audio only one. Anyway, any relevant podcasting platform is the Order an Anime podcast. Can't possibly miss it. We're the only one. Same thing with the YouTube is the Order an Anime podcast. Can't possibly scroll past it. Every Saturday 3 p.m. EST without fail, except for when we do like last week. There will be an episode up for you to enjoy. So
I mean, technically, last week it was up at 3 p.m.
It was there. I damn well
was
uploaded
there.
it. It just it had to be taken down because I went schizophrenic and I was the only one talking. But we move on from our mistakes. It'll never happen again for the second time.
For the second time.
Third time's a charm. It
and a
won't
half.
happen. Yeah. But anyway, thank you for once again watching, and we hope to see you in another episode. Goodbye.
Bye.